All right, still on day 2, simplifying radicals. Let's get into it. So, root 180, hopefully you remember that that's the same thing as 36 times 5. Now, since this is a square root, that's why I broke it down into this, because this is 6 squared. All right, you might not need that, but I'm showing it anyway. So, these are both odd, and that's even. But since these both are larger than 2, we can break them down. I'm going to break them both down to x squared and x, and y squared and y. The reason why I did that, pun intended, is because 2 plus 1 is equal to 3, and 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. So let me rewrite that. X squared times x, y squared times y. What this does is it gives me abilities. I can take the square root of x squared and y squared. I can't take the square root of those two. So let's start. The square root of 6 squared is 6. The square root of 36 is 6 as well. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of y squared is y. But then I have a square root here. What's left is 5xy, so 5xy stays inside the square root there. And that's it. It's done. Now, what am I going to do over here? So, 2 to the third power is equal to 8. That's all well and good. 4 to the third power is 64, and that's where we're going to lean. We want to find the biggest cube that goes in here. Now, this first step is huge, ladies and gentlemen. It's huge, because if you break it down into the wrong one right here, it's going to mean you have a lot more work. But I'm going to do the right thing here. Break it down to 64 times 5, and then I have to deal with these. All right, now these, I hope you're listening, I hope you're paying attention, because these are going to break down in a little different way. That's the third power there. So we have to have an x to the third. And if I break the x down, that 5 is x to the third and x squared. That gives me x to the fifth. All right. Then this y to the seventh. Now this is going to look a little funny. All right. Y to the seventh. I'm breaking this down to y to the third times y to the third times y to the first. That still gives me 7, because 3 plus 1 is 7. And it gives me 2 of these. Now, I could have very easily done y to the 6th and y. I was just trying to teach a little bit more. That's all. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this now. So this is 4 to the third. Got that from right over here. This is 5. This is x to the third. This is still x squared. This is still y to the third and y to the third and y, because why not? And this is what we have, ladies and gentlemen. The third root of of 4 to the third is 4, so 4 comes out. The third root of x to the third is x, so an x comes out. The third root of y to the third is y, so y comes out. The third root of this y to the third is another y. Everything else stays inside the third root. So 5x squared, y stays in. Now the only thing left to do is change colors and write the correct answer. The correct answer is 4x, and you have y times y, so it would be y squared, and then the third root, 5x squared y. Tricky problem there, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very tricky problem. Okay. I'm going to let you guys, actually I'm going to help out. Why not? I'm going to break these down for you at least. This is the same thing as 256 times x squared times y. Oh, sorry, 256 times 2. Just forgot the 2. X squared times y. Square root of 256, 16. Over here, this is going to be 196 times 2 times x squared times y squared. All right, so you're going to break those down. Those aren't finished. Those are there for you to work on. Good. We've got 4 more to look at here. I'm probably going to just do 2 of them. How about? So, this 2 to the 5th is 32. I remember that. And down here, 4 to the third power is 64, so that's going to help me out here. So this would be the 5th root of 32 times 3 and times x, and I have to break this y down into a 5 and something else. So y to the 5th. If I have a y to the 5th, I need 2 more. So y squared to give me that y to the 7th. All right, so this is the same thing as the 5th root of 2 to the 5th times 3 times x times y to the 5th times y squared. Then I have 2 when you bring this out, and then y. Those are the only two things that come out. And then it would be the 5th root of 3xy squared. Because those things you can't take the 5th root of. All right. Down here, you can take the 3rd root of a negative, so I'm going to put the negative 1 there, and I'll just put 64, because why not? Now, this is the 3rd root. So what I'm going to do on this one's a little different than the one I did before. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to break this down to a to the 6th times a to the 1st, because 6 plus 1 is 7, and then b to the 6th times b to the 1st. Now, the reason why I did that is because hopefully you understand this. The square root of a squared is a. The 4th root of a to the 8th is a squared. If I had the square root of a to the 6th, that would be a to the 3rd. So what we're doing here is we're basically taking this number, dividing it by the imaginary 2 in there. 2 divided by 1 is 1. Sorry, 1 divided by, 2 divided by 2 is 1 here, and then 8 divided by 4 down here is 2. So that's where those are coming from. So let me go ahead and do this real quick. What's the 3rd root of negative 1? It'd be a negative 1. What's the 3rd root of 64, otherwise known as 4 to the 3rd? That would be a 4. Now, the 3rd root of a to the 6th is going to be a to the 2nd, because 6 divided by 3 is 2. This stays inside. The 3rd root of b to the 6th is going to be b to the 2nd, because 6 divided by 3 is 2. That b stays inside. So then this is what we're left with inside the 3rd root. We dealt with this, dealt with this, dealt with this, dealt with this. So I just have AB left inside. My outside looks a little bit weird. So negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. I have a squared, b squared, but then I have the 3rd root of AB. And that's that. I think there are only 20 problems on this worksheet. Let me double check. Actually, I'm going to help you out with number 17. That's the same thing as something times... 64 times 6. Okay, and then I break this down to x squared times x, and then leave the y squared alone. And you can work with that. Now, these are not the answers to number 19, so let me get rid of those so you don't think they are. And yeah, that's good.